Today on the Bandrew Says podcast, we'll be answering a couple of your questions, so go ahead and stick around. First things first, I was going to go ahead and throw the show to Jim Jombly, our news correspondent, but I think he went on a bender. The news got him so terribly depressed that he relapsed and started drinking, and he's off the rail, so we're not going to be hearing from them this week. Apologies for that. Also, we are using a new microphone. This is the What I've Been Testing segment. I did just use the SM7B last week, but now we are on the Townsend Labs Sphere L22, a microphone modeling system, and I am running it through the Universal Audio X8. The way that this microphone works is it has a 5-pin XLR output. I run it into 2 XLR ports on the Universal Audio X8 interface, and then I have the Townsend Labs plugin in my Universal Audio system, and it takes the stereo signal from the front and the rear capsule, and it allows you to model different microphones, much like the Antelope microphone that we used maybe a year and a half ago. And I gotta say, it's super simple, and I am really enjoying the sound I'm getting out of this. I'm not going to tell you what microphone I'm modeling. I just want to know, what do you think of the sound of this? And over the next 3 episodes after this, I will be using this microphone as well, and I'll be trying out different microphone models, and you guys can guess what it is. How fun is that? I'm not going to tell you if you're right or if you're wrong, but at the end, we will have a review on the Podcastage channel. So there you go. That's the microphone we're using. Oh, $1,500. And it was sent to me by Townsend for the review. I'm just using it on here to test it out like I do with most of the more expensive microphones. There you go. Now let's jump to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment. Welcome to the Ask Bandrew segment. If y'all got any questions that you want me to answer, you can send them in. Just head over to askbandrew.com. That has instructions on how to send in voice, video, and text messages, and I will most likely answer them on an upcoming episode of the podcast. I unfortunately have fallen quite far behind, and there have been people who have sent in video submissions, and then by the time I got to them, they were privated, so I couldn't view the question. I apologize for the huge delay. I am working through the backlog, but send them in. I will get to them eventually, and I appreciate everybody who does that. First email comes from Supbra. They say, I have seen your videos, and all I want to know that out of Rode M2, Lewitt MTP 350, Audio Technica AT2020, which is preferable? Also, will I get better audio quality, RIT M58 in any one of these? My main focus is on home setup recording. Please answer. Sup Bro from India. His name is not actually Sup Bro. I am mispronouncing it intentionally for humor, because being insensitive and a jerk is funny, right? I realized what a jerk I am. I apologize profusely. But to answer your question, I can't really tell you which one is preferable. That is something that you're going to have to determine for yourself. What sound quality do you want the most? Do you want a handheld condenser? Do you want a small diaphragm electret condenser? Do you want a handheld dynamic? It all comes down to your preferences, and I can't tell you what your preferences are. But you know me. I'm not just going to say, just do whatever you want, man. I'm going to say, do whatever you want, man. But here are some samples of me speaking into all of those microphones so you can hear what they sound like. Here you go, I can't even pronounce it. Sup, bro. I apologize again. Here are the samples. In your email, you mentioned something about a 58, so I'm guessing you wanted me to compare all of these other microphones to the SM58. Currently, I have the 58. I am connecting directly to an 18i20 second gen. Gain is at 100%, and I am about 3 inches off of the microphone pointed at the corner of my mouth. And here is how this mic sounds. Now I am on the Lewitt MTP 350 CM 3 inches off. I decreased the gain to about 4 o'clock on the 18i20. So for a condenser microphone, it is still very quiet, but here is how it sounds compared to the 58. Much brighter, much clearer, but a little bit gritty up top compared to the 58, and really bad with plosives. Then we have the Rode M2, another handheld condenser microphone. 3 inches off of this thing, gain set at 3 o'clock on the dial, and here is how it's sounding at the pointed at the corner of my mouth. That was poorly spoken. Pointed at the corner of my mouth. Also not the best at plosive rejection, but a bit better than the Lewitt. There you go. That is the Rode M2. And lastly, we are on the Audio Technica AT2020. I don't know why you asked for this one, because this is a studio condenser compared to handheld condensers and a handheld dynamic. But 3 inches off, I decreased the gain on this to about 130 on the dial, not quite to the 2 o'clock. And I'm 3 inches off. Here's how it's sounding. Also, all of these are pretty bad with plosives if you put them directly into the capsule. So just don't do it. Just don't do that. Easier said than done, but don't do it. Problem solved. That's the AT2020. And we will wrap up this test on the SM58 again. I cranked the gain to 100% and probably a bit too hot because I am nigh on clipping. Definitely not what you want. I'm just a little bit lazy this morning. But here is the SM58 one last time. You can tell it sounds a lot more closed off than the mics we compared it against, but it's a pretty good sound for $100, I guess, if you want a dynamic mic as opposed to a condenser mic. Hope that helped you. Best of luck in your decision making. Bye-bye. Okay, next up we have a voice submission, so let's go ahead and jump to the voice submission sent in from I don't know this person's name. Take it away, kind sir.
Hello, Bandrew. I recently came across your channel for some microphone product reviews, but have stuck around and have had fun learning more about different kinds of microphones that are out there, whether they are dynamic or condensers. I guess my question for you is how this microphone sounds with my voice, or how I can determine what microphones may sound good with my voice. And just to explain my current setup that I am testing, I am using a Samson Q2U, and that is with the XLR settings or an XLR cable, going into a Focusrite Solo 3rd Gen. And I guess my main issue right now is that it does have issues picking up my voice. I do have a quieter voice, and the gain that I actually have set for it is 18 in OBS, and then on the Focusrite Solo itself, it's around the 80% point, and I do have the 48 volt setting on. The microphone itself is about 3 inches away from my mouth at an angle, and I am wondering if this is sufficient or if the settings do sound unusual to you, and whether it would be a good idea to maybe test out other microphones to see if I like them better as far as how they pick up my voice or how my voice sounds in that particular microphone. I am mainly focused on looking for dynamic microphones, since I do have other noises in my room, such as a air conditioner, so I have avoided looking at condenser microphones. But would it be worthwhile perhaps to look at other dynamic microphones and condensers and test them with my voice, or if I should just continue using the one that I have? Thank you. Bye.
Okay, to recap the voice submission, you are using the Samson Q2U. You're running it over XLR to XLR into a Scarlett Solo 3rd Gen, and the difficulty you're having is picking up your voice. The gain is set at 18 in OBS. I don't know what that means. 80% on the Scarlett, okay? 48 volts phantom power is on and you're 3 inches off of the microphone. First things first, turn off the phantom power. The Samson Q2U is a dynamic microphone. You do not need that. So you can go ahead and shut that son of a gun off. Shut off the phantom power. It's not going to do you any good. Secondly, it sounds like you do have the proper microphone technique where you're about 3 inches off of it. It's pointed at the corner of your mouth and you're just speaking right past it, which helps reduce the plosives. Great job there. And other than that, I don't think there's much that I can tell you to get a better sound. 80% sounds about right. What would that be? 315, 3 o'clock on the gain dial, around there. That sounds about right. You could probably give yourself a little bit more. But if you're shooting for negative 18 to negative 12 dB or negative 18 to negative 6 dB, around there sounds good. Currently, I'm hitting around negative 12 to negative 16, negative 18 dB. It's what I record at. So if you're hitting around there, that's perfect for you. I don't think you need to make any adjustments there. But then you ask the question, would it be a good idea to test out other microphones to see if you like them better? If you have access to microphones, absolutely go for it, because all that will do is give you more experience and more idea where the Q2U fits in the grand scheme of things, what kind of competition it has, what it excels at, what it falls short at, and it really helps you develop an idea of what kind of tone you want out of a microphone for yourself. With that being said, if you don't have access to microphones, I don't necessarily think that you should just go out and spend thousands of dollars buying this microphone, this microphone, this microphone, this microphone, just to see what they sound like. The reason I'm suggesting that is that can be a very expensive and very deep and dark rabbit hole. I don't want to advocate anybody to go into debt or spend far too much money just to determine, I like the microphone that I already had. If you have access to them, if you have a guitar center near you, they have some microphones set up that you may be able to use. Maybe not right now with all the craziness going on, but typically in normal times, they do have mics set up that you can go listen to. And if you do have boatloads of money, you're just extremely wealthy, and you want to try out a bunch of microphones, go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to do it as long as you're not going into debt, as long as you aren't putting yourself in financially difficult times. I don't see why not. There are much more expensive hobbies. There are much more dangerous hobbies. And it's not like any of us are going out and doing anything that costs money. Just don't buy stuff that is being scalped, because right now stuff is in limited quantity due to manufacturing limitations, and people are buying the stuff that is available and then jacking it up and selling it on eBay or on Amazon, and it's not worth these inflated prices. So maybe hold off until the production gets back to normal and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg. That's what I'll say there. But what do I think about your microphone and how you sound? I think you sound great. I would consider throwing a de-esser on there, because the Q2U has a lot of top end and S's can get a little bit sharp, so a de-esser can be very beneficial. If I came across your audio in a podcast, a YouTube video, a radio broadcast, a Twitter video, a Twitch stream, I would have no complaints. Nice, clean, and clear, nothing distracting going on in your audio. I think you're on the right track. I hope that helped you out. I hope I didn't ramble too much. Best of luck to you. We have another voice submission. Go ahead and take it away, Tony T. Tony the Tiger. Take it away, good sir.
Hey, Bandrew, Tony T here. I apologize in advance for recording this on my iPhone. I know that there are better ways to record audio, but I wanted to ask you a question, and I'm on my work lunch break. So, my question is about the Rodecaster Pro. Recently, I saw one for sale, and in the description, the person said that it could even be used to record music, and that they had recorded a demo using the Rodecaster Pro. Now, I'm no expert, but I feel like this device should only be used for podcasting and voice audio. But I wondered what your thoughts are. Can it be done? Can someone plug a Shure SM57 into a Rodecaster Pro and record something that is comparable to other top-of-the-line mixers or other things in that genre? Yeah, love your podcast, love all that you do. Really appreciate you and respect you, and would love your input on this topic. Rodecaster Pro, record music, ? Thanks.
Tony the Tiger, thank you very much for the question. I apologize if you're sick of hearing Tony the Tiger jokes. I'm sure you get that a lot. Coming through with the difficult questions that I typically would want to record, I would want to record examples of. I'm a bit lazy this morning. Maybe I will make a full video, can you record music with the Rodecaster Pro? To simply answer the question, in theory, sure. Yes, you could. It has microphone inputs, you're able to record to it, you use microphones to mic up instruments and voices, and therefore you can record music on it. I simply don't think it's designed specifically or well for that application. The main issues that I have with it, it does not have an instrument input. I like to run DI, so I can use an amp simulator in my computer. If I wanted to, I could reamp that out through my actual guitar amp, and it also does not have any line level inputs, so I'm not able to run any external preamps. If I wanted to use the Universal Audio LA610 Mark II, get that tube saturation, that tube tone out of a mic, I wouldn't be able to do it unless I ran it through some conversion box, and then you're degrading the audio a bit. So in theory, yes. Is it ideal? No. It's not designed for that. It can be used for it, but I don't think it's going to do it well. The processing in there really doesn't seem to be geared towards music. It is a podcasting, a broadcasting box. That's what it's designed for. That's what it does well. And although you can use it for other applications, I don't think it excels at that. And I think you could find a different setup that would treat you a lot better. I hope that helped, Tony. Best of luck to you in your decisions, and maybe in the future, I'll make a video talking about that or demonstrating it. Next, we have a voice submission from Raf from the UK, an Italian in the UK, if I'm remembering correctly. Take it away, Raf.
Hi Bandrew, my name is Raf and I'm an Italian in the UK. First of all, I wanted to say that I really enjoy your show and your reviews. My question is about online music lessons and which microphone to use. My instrument is the classical accordion, which can get very loud and which is always played sitting down. Ideally, the microphone would be placed in front of the accordion, maybe 1 foot away, but that would be very far from my voice, as I also need to talk during lessons. Do you think it would be better to have 2 microphones? Do you have any recommendations for the microphone to use with the accordion? Thanks a lot. And by the way, talking about music, I love your music channel. Thanks. Bye.
Raf, that is an excellent question. And a difficult question because I have never mic'd up an accordion. I have never recorded an accordion. I don't know exactly what microphone would be proper for that. As far as the miking technique or the setup, I think you would be much better off with a 2 microphone setup. The reason I'm suggesting that is the loudness of the accordion and the distance from the accordion makes it a pretty much worst case scenario for a soft-spoken person to use the mic that's being used for the instrument. What I mean by that is if you have the microphone a foot away from the accordion and you set it so the gain is appropriate for a really loud sound source, you're going to have the gain relatively low. The microphone is going to be far away from your mouth. You may be 2-3 feet away from the microphone. So while you're recording, you may be getting -15, -8 dB on your meter while you're playing the loudest on the accordion. But then when you start talking, you'll be really far away from the microphone and you'll just hear this. You'll just hear this really soft voice and you won't be able to hear anything. So my recommendation would be a 2-microphone setup, and if you are able to find a mixer that has physical mute buttons for each of the inputs, that's what I would pick. Then while you're actually playing the accordion, mute your vocal microphone, and then when you're done playing, mute the accordion microphone and unmute the vocal microphone, and then talk to your students, because I think you mentioned you have not tests, but lessons that you teach, and I think that would be the best approach to miking up your accordion and still speaking to your students. I hope that helped you. I did find an article about miking up the accordion from Shure. It's 8 ways to mic an accordion. I will link that in the episode notes if you want to check that out. And lastly, we have another voice submission, this time from Ken. Take it away, Ken, with your awesome question.
Hi Bandrew, this is Kevin Hollingworth from the UK. I've recently acquired an art voice channel strip, and on the front, one of the knobs is load impedance. The instructions say, use the impedance control to subtly tune the sound of your microphone. Now, to be honest, I can't actually hear any difference at all when I play with that knob, and it goes from, I think it's 350 up to 3000. So the question I have, hopefully you can help with, is what is load impedance? Does it relate to microphone output impedance? And finally, what should I set it to? Thanks. Bye.
Ken, how are you doing? Thank you very much for the voice submission, and what a great question. We have so many great questions coming in this week. I appreciate each and every one of you so gosh darn much. Y'all are amazing. Let's jump to your question. You are saying you have an ART preamp that has a load impedance selection dial. What is load impedance? Does it relate to mic output impedance? And what should you set it to? All right. Impedance simply means resistance. How difficult will it be for an electric signal to travel through a certain medium? The lower the impedance, the lower the ohms, the easier it is for something to travel through that. The easier it is for electric signals to transfer through that. I think I got that right. Microphones are typically fairly low impedance, and to quote Neumann, which I will be doing a lot in my response to this, they say, microphones typically come with an output impedance of less than 200 ohms. Such low impedances allow for very long cable runs without sound degradation, which is a vast improvement over, say, electric guitars, whose high impedance pickups lose quite a bit of top end with long cable runs of just 30 feet. And then you ask about load impedance. That is the impedance of the preamp that you're running your microphone into. And if we can go back to Neumann, because I am not going to be able to word it better than they will, let me read what they say about that. For optimal results, the load impedance should be at least 5 times higher than the output impedance. So if you have a microphone that has an output impedance of 200 ohms, the preamp should have an input impedance of at least 1000 ohms. And that's exactly the figure you'll find in most microphone datasheets as the recommended load impedance or rated load impedance. This is the minimum load impedance at which the manufacturer guarantees all other specs. But then you ask the most important question that I think the majority of people will be asking: what should you set your load impedance to? And guess who I'm going to quote? I'm going to quote another website, Infowars.com. You got it right. We're quoting, no, it's Neumann.com. Sorry, really dumb joke. Let's jump to what they had to say. So what do we make of those impedance specs? Not much. Pretty much any studio microphone has an output impedance of 200 ohms or less. The exact value may matter to classical music engineers who often work with very long cable runs, but in the home studio, it doesn't matter. Also, just about any studio preamp comes with an input impedance above the recommended minimum load impedance. No problem either. There is one exception though. Some newer preamps offer variable input impedance. If your preamp has such a switch, just set it to its highest setting and forget about it. Ken, there you go. Set it to the highest impedance setting that there is. I believe you said 3.5K. Set it to that. You'll be fine. It won't affect the upper frequency. It won't change the performance of the microphone at all. And I know there will be some comments already. People are already clickety-clacking away saying, "What about impedance matching? What about impedance matching?" Let me go ahead and quote AEA microphones, because they can say it better than I can, and I trust them a lot more than somebody on the Gear Sluts forum. This is what AEA microphone says about impedance matching. A common misconception is that the impedance of the preamp input should match the same impedance as the microphone. This idea of matching was born out of the early telecom technology, when matching the mic's impedance to the preamp impedance was necessary to get the highest power transfer. This is no longer true. The rule today is, in order to deliver its full frequency response, a passive ribbon mic needs to see an input impedance of at least 5 times its output impedance. That means if a mic has an output impedance of 300 ohms, the preamp should have at least an input impedance of 1200 to 1500 ohms. We recommend a preamp with an input impedance of at least 10 times the output impedance of the mic to ensure optimum performance. There you go. That is my take on input and load impedance, not based on any testing that I did. I am taking the expert's word for it. I am taking Neumann's word, and I am taking AEA's word, and I am taking the information from every single interface that I've reviewed. The load impedance of, I think, every single one of them is 2,000 to 3,000 ohms. Not only is it 5 times higher than the majority of microphones, but it is, in most cases, over 10 times higher than most microphones' impedance. So unless you start running into microphones that have 1,000 ohm impedances, resistances, we'll go with that, I think most modern interfaces will be fine. You can set the load impedance on your preamp to the highest that it will go. Don't go into the thousands and thousands of ohms, that 20,000 and 80,000 or million ohms. I think that would be an instrument input, I think. There you go. I hope that helped you. I will link both the Neumann and the AEA article in the episode notes down below. And that is going to wrap up for today. A little bit shorter than usual, but gosh darn it, I had nothing to talk about. There is nothing interesting in the entire world going on right now that is not politically related. Everything is political, and it is driving me mad. And I swear, if I did not know any better, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say it's intending to drive people insane. And gosh darn it, if they are not doing a great job at it. That's it for this episode. BandrewSays.com for audio or video. GeeksRising.com to check out other amazing shows. We just had the season finale of Stuck Listening and the season launch of Tourette's podcast. Go check out both of them. Amazing shows. Would love to hear what y'all think of that. Until next week, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. I love you so much. Stay safe. Avoid the insanity of politics. And I will talk to you later. Bye.
You're listening to the Bandrew Says podcast. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, visit www.geeksrising.com.